All right, glass, steel, exposed bracing. We've got something quite different for you today. This property has been designed by Hunter Architecture. It's unlike any traditional housing that we usually associate in New Zealand with traditional framing. Really wanted you to come and check this out. We're going to go meet the designer now. We've got something quite different here, and I just wanted to take the opportunity to just show the people really what you've got. It's unlike any traditional housing that we're used to seeing. Can you tell us a little bit about it? Maybe we'll start with the site.
Yeah, sure. So the house is built on a very narrow site. So the site is 40 odd metres long. It's about 12 metres wide. It's rising about 6 metres from the road down here to the very back of the property. So inherently there's a lot of difficult things to overcome to fit a house of this size in here. So the boundary starts right here at the letterbox. As you can see, the property is effectively 3 stories high. The 3rd floor is within the gable of the building. So the shape of the roof mimics the house at the back, but more importantly, it misses the height recession planes. So council have got this envelope that you must build within. Okay. So we've kept the house within that envelope.
So Darren, we're on 3 stories here, 3 levels.
Yep.
So what have we got? How does that comprise?
Right. So down at the ground level, we've got the utility area. So we've got the garage, large internal garage with a laundry, and at the very back of the building there is another bedroom at the very bottom. The middle level is all living space. Obviously, there's a lot of glass at the front here, and on the top floor is the bedroom wing. So there's a number of bedrooms up there and bathrooms.
Okay. And these windows, wow! Tell us about that. It's right. Like a piece of art.
Yeah, it's the same at the front as at the back. So I was mindful that I wanted to get as much light and capture as much of the views as possible. So I've put a lot of glass at the front and a lot of back to the back where there's a lot of afternoon sun. The windows are very high performance windows, but given that there's a lot of glazing, I had to break the frames up into smaller pieces for structural reasons. Yeah. So the glass is spread over the 2 floors, and you will see there's a number of coloured glass portions through the windows.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, so it was something I wanted to try, which was coloured glass, and I was mindful that I just wanted to have splatterings of glass that was coloured through the windows rather than a lot of it. Yeah, so you'll see these little punctuated pieces of colour.
And hey, look, we're in Paekakariki, artistic, creative. People love their art down here. So have you had many positive comments about it when while the construction's been going on? Yeah,
we've had a lot of people stop and ask, what we were building, and a lot of people have realised that the pattern and the proportions of this glass have been broken into a form that an artist used called Mondrian. So Mondrian was an artist that used primary colours and gridded the palette up in such a way that you had little squares of colour against bigger backdrops of other colours. So it's very reminiscent of Mondrian's work. So the locals were pretty quick to pick up on the fact that there's a real influence from Mondrian.
Dead cool. And what about window performance?
Given that we wanted to enhance a lot of the eco benefits of a house that we were building here, so the windows have got a real high performance. The frames are actually a very large shop front extrusion,
right?
And they're very chunky for a house of this size. And it was deliberate to really emphasise the size of the frames and how they looked.
Yeah.
And also to picture frame the pockets of colour that we've got through the place.
Darren, what about this cladding? I've not seen anything like this.
Yeah, it's an industrial type material. It's been around for a long time, but effectively it's a sandwich. There's a sandwich of steel, a thick layer of polystyrene, and then another layer of steel. And that cladding is actually hanging outside the building line. So you look down at the bottom there's the foundation, the concrete foundation.
Yeah.
So this is actually draping off the side of the foundation, which is very unusual for residential cladding.
Right.
So the idea of the polystyrene, which is 150 mil thick, is that the insulation is continuous through the entire building. So the polystyrene runs from front to back wherever you see these panels, and there's no breaks in between. So there's no studs, there's no dwangs, there's no wires, there's no pipe work. So super efficient for insulation.
Yeah.
And each panel is a metre wide, so they're installed in metre-sized panels.
Okay.
And you can choose a colour. We've chosen a relatively neutral off-white, and we've also got the same colour on the inside.
Right. So the product on the inside and the outside is the finished product. There's been nothing added over the top. It's not jib stopped or anything like that. It's just what you see is what it is.
That's right, that's right. So it's pretty unforgiving in the fact that you've got a complete element arrives on the back of a truck and you've just bolted it to the outside of the building. It's completely finished. It all comes pre-painted.
Wow.
You could change the colour if you wanted to, but it's, you know, it's factory applied paint, so it's going to last for many, many years.
Slow maintenance.
Yeah, really.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you want to show us what this looks like from the inside?
Sure. Okay. So if you come this way, Mike, you can see the panels from the inside.
Oh yeah.
So as you can see, they're the same colour on the inside as they are on the outside, and they're pre-finished in the factory. And you'll see these seams here. From there to there is a metre wide panel. So that's the width of the panel that arrives on the back of the truck.
Okay. So you don't cover this up, it's not jibbed up or anything?
No, in this instance we've decided to leave it as it comes from the factory. You could glue some chipboard over it, or you could glue some plywood over it, but we've chosen to leave it as a honest material and say that this is the cladding.
Yeah, okay. But so how do you manage then to get your services and power cables, that sort of stuff?
Yeah, good question. A few people have asked me that question. So given that it's a sandwich, we can't go drilling holes through the polystyrene and out through the metal. So we've had to really consider and treat the services really carefully. So in this instance, for argument's sake, there's no power points on this wall.
No.
We've actually mounted them in the floor down there.
Right.
So this little box just locks shut if you're not using it. If you need power for your lamps or your stereo, your TV,
awesome.
you set your piece of furniture over the top of it.
Yeah.
And the power's readily available.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And is that what we've got here? Are these cables running under the next floor?
So that's as you might have seen in movies and older films, that industrial buildings had this metal conduit. So there's that electrical cables inside that.
Yeah.
That's basically just the protective coating.
Okay.
And we're celebrating the idea that the services are seen. So we've deliberately left that seen in the ceiling. So that runs through these joists and these little junction boxes that are servicing the power points in the next floor up.
Right.
In
Awesome.
in a conventional house, someone would just put a lining on there, put your board up and paint it a colour.
But that that's harder, right? So what you're doing is harder, isn't it? In terms of working with the materials, because you can't. It's the finished product. What you're installing is the finished product.
Exactly. Every junction and detail has to be considered.
Yeah.
In a normal house, you put your stick framing up, you put your jibboard on, the whole lot's covered up.
Yeah.
It's covered up with a layer of plaster and paint. In this instance, we've had to consider the spacings of the joists, the positions of the bolts and the washers and the nuts.
Wow.
The sheet, that is the flooring from the bedroom above.
Yeah.
So you're seeing everything.
Aesthetically.
You can't have nails poking through there like you would on a conventional house because they've misnailed. Everything had to be measured and considered when they fixed it down.
Wow. And then the lighting. So you can have the lighting hidden behind the jib. You've got this on a track.
Yeah, so this track system is called a live wire system. It's suspended from the ceiling from both ends. It's screwed into the steel beams at the other end.
Right.
And the cable is, you can't get electric shock from it.
No.
It's only when you tighten up the little spriggets that the power will come on.
Yeah, okay.
And these are all adjustable. So depending on where you put your furniture, you
Wow.
can move them around.
So cool.
And that's LED lighting, so really cheap to run. And
Okay.
yeah.
This bracing. What about this?
Yeah, well that's a huge feature of the house. So that bracing that you're looking at is a structural requirement. In the event of an earthquake, this building is obviously wanting to rack around or move. So those braces are in place of what we'd have in a normal house, which would be jibboard. So jibboard is a brace in a conventional house.
Yeah.
We don't have any jibboard, so we've used these big tensioners, that's what you had your hand on earlier.
Yeah.
So you tighten up that big nut,
Yeah.
and it basically tensions up these cables. So in an event of an earthquake, it stops the building from flopping around. So this is standard reinforcing bar that you have in concrete, and we've just painted it.
Yeah.
So we're celebrating these details. Right where your hand is, you can see that you've got the big tension mechanism. You've got the bolts. You've got the washers. All the plates are all seen.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it's quite remarkable. So in terms of seismic resilience, right? If you've got like a traditional house that's got all the wooden frames and that sort of stuff, and then you've got this house which has got this steel. What is this? Has this got greater seismic resilience? Do you think, or can we ask you that?
I would say the strength and the seismic resistance of this place is a lot more higher spec than a conventional house.
Right.
The whole thing has been heavily engineered, so I needed an engineer to design the size of these steel members. But in some instances, we've actually increased the size of the steel just for aesthetics reasons. I wanted something chunky, with a certain amount of substance. So you might see a few members that look quite large, and they're deliberately made large to emphasise and celebrate that idea of the strength of it. For argument's sake, that portal there, it's a good 300 millimetres wide.
Yeah, it's massive.
And so that portal goes up as basically a leg and a beam. And so in the event of an earthquake, when the building moves in an earthquake, it's resisting that building from falling over.
Yeah, okay, incredible. All right, so let's move on. You can show me a couple of other things here.
Okay. So Mike, there's quite a few windows in this place, and the reasoning for big sashes like this is to allow the cross ventilation. So in the summer, it's going to get very warm here on the third floor. So we've deliberately put little windows and big windows. If you open that one,
yeah, right.
And there's windows on the other side of the house, that'll just allow the hot air to get pulled through the property. So we're just relying on nature to look after itself to keep the place cool. We're not relying on heat pumps.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we've got this stuff. This stuff's on the roof too.
Yeah. So it was very deliberate that I wanted to have really a real cohesive design on the outside, and I didn't want to change the material. So we've got the wall panel with the polystyrene panels in the middle.
Yeah.
And exactly the same product can be used on the roof.
Wow.
Now the roof product is actually a little bit thicker to allow for a little bit more insulation.
Yeah. So it's ultra insulated.
Ultra insulated. Yeah.
Okay. And this is a bedroom.
Yeah. It's a space that's actually quite large, but it's got multiple uses. We were thinking that it could be a home and office. So you could have your office up here. If you're into music, it could be a music room. If you're like reading, there could be a reading room. So we're sort of questioning what spaces can be used for a multiple of different uses, rather than just say that's a bedroom.
Yeah.
We're saying, well, what could it be? It could be anything you wanted to suit your lifestyle.
Because spatially, this is a big high stud down to the ground floor, right?
Yeah, we wanted to enhance the fact that we wanted to emphasise the volume of space. So there's a real connect between this level and the living space below.
Yeah.
So that's why we sort of start questioning, well, does a mezzanine floor have to be just a bedroom? It could be that it's another extension of the lounge. So watch this handrail. It's temporary while we're still finishing a few bits and pieces.
Yeah, okay. So that's just our health and safety right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Hey, just looking at the stairs, the treads on the stairs are, they're incredible. So is that like a native timber?
Yeah, it's locally sourced Remu, and it's come out of an old building. So we're really conscious of recycling stuff that may be ending up in the tip or being burnt for firewood. So this is old studs that have been denailed and laminated together.
Wow. And
it's got a real richness to it, and we've just oiled it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. And we've used it also on a few ceilings through the kitchen area. So we've just ripped up old studs, 80-year-old, dry as anything, a few nail holes. We're sort of celebrating the fact that it's recycled, so there's holes in it and there's a few nail heads sticking out of it.
So that's part of your culture, isn't it? You just want to you want to be eco, you want to reduce and reuse things and recycle. Is that sort of...
I like the philosophy that, why does it get used once and then chucked away? If we can repurpose it. And the other thing about older things, they've got a charm and they've got a patina about them that I really like. Yeah,
so we got really nice finishing on the kitchen. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Hold on, we got two sinks.
Yeah.
So what's going on here?
We've actually got two hobs as well, Mike. There's a hob there, and there's a hob there. And we've got two fridges. So would you believe there's a fridge in there?
Fridge there.
And there's another fridge, just pull that drawer there. There's a pull out, that's actually a fridge, it's not a dishwasher.
Wow.
And the reasoning being, Mike, is that we think that you could actually block this off and maybe have a rental accommodation. Okay. Or if you've got your mother-in-law coming to stay, shut the door and she's got her own little space.
So a soundproof door, and suddenly, so in this part of the house, we've got another kitchenette, basically.
Yeah, there's no oven in that one, but you've got enough, you can cook the bacon and eggs, you've got a sink to do the washing up, have a cup of tea, or dial for a pizza.
Yeah, and another living space?
Another living space. If it was one big house, then we consider that as a dining area, and the living would be at this end.
Yeah.
But if it was used by two lots of people, this could easily be a little studio.
Bring me through.
Yeah.
Okay. And access outdoors off this side.
Yeah.
Stairs up to
a bedroom, like a studio bedroom. There is another bathroom up there, so this is quite self-contained. Both places would have their own outdoor living. This one's obviously got a lovely afternoon area, and the main part of the house is another deck.
Yeah.
The same joinery as we had at the front, as we got at the back. Obviously, big sliding doors.
So could this be an Airbnb? Could it be an Airbnb?
Yeah, very much so. And that was it was deliberate to think, well, people may like another stream of revenue if they buy a house of this size. The other thing is people's families aren't the same as they used to be. You know, it's mums with kids that don't have a dad, or you've got couples that don't have any children, or someone wants to work from home. So there's a multiple.
And multi-generations coming together that need to, because the cost of housing isn't getting any cheaper, is it? So we're seeing that people are clubbing together these days, and they're sort of trying to live harmoniously in the old style house, and it doesn't work.
Exactly,
but,
exactly.
This gives you more scope to do that, right?
Yeah, this gives someone a certain amount of independence. If you had a family member living with you, whether younger or older, they've got their own space. They can come and go as they please. They're not having to check in.
Yeah.
But equally, you've got the security of having someone just through the door if you needed it. There's a real lock up and leave aspect to this. So if you were going to use it periodically as a beach house, you could have someone living in part of it for security and obviously helping pay the bills.
Yeah.
But then you've got the peace of mind to know that you've got a place that's secure and is being looked after.
Yeah, and somewhere you can come to whenever you want.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Should we take a look outside? Do you want to show me out here?
Yeah. The council have got a few requirements. So we've got a large water tank here.
Right.
So this water tank is all the water off the roof. So when it rains, it empties into this tank, and then when you flush the loo, the water comes from this tank.
Okay.
So you're getting basically free water, which can also be used for your garden taps and washing your car and those sorts of things.
And that's limiting the impact on the district resources and that sort of thing.
And like I say, it is free because you're not actually paying the council for the water.
Righto. Okay.
But in addition to this system, there's a sewage system. Paekakariki has no sewage system, so we've got our own factory, if you like, or septic tank that feeds all these plants. So there's a drip line that comes from the septic tank that's running underneath the bark that's actually feeding all these plants. To your right, Mike, there's the timber boardwalk that would actually access this back part of the property. So if you had someone staying, they could easily come this way without coming through the main part of the house.
Yeah, right. Smart.
And
it's a nice little boardwalk coming up through here.
Yeah, and we've got a couple of lights to install in there yet, but it'll be really safe at night with a sensor on.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And the structure, it just looks so cool. Same windows on the back.
Same windows, snap. Yeah.
Awesome.
The windows come into full effect here because of the western elevation, so the afternoon sun just flows straight into the house.
Beautiful. They look incredible. What else have we got up on the roof here? Because I've seen something else here. We got the solar.
Yeah. So one of our eco initiatives is we obviously want to generate some of our own electricity. So there's 2 kilowatts on the roof. So it's not enough to run the whole house, but it's a feel-good factor, and it's a really nice thing to have.
Yeah. Yeah. So 2 kilowatts, that's gonna power whatever you're powering when the sun's out, right?
Yeah, so that you could, in your mind's eye, you could say that's attributed to the water heating. There is actually underfloor heating in the lower part of the house, so in the winter time it could be subsidising that power that you're going to use in the winter.
Okay. And if somebody wanted to install a battery system or something like that, is there the potential for them to do that? Or
the technology's there, but it's not affordable in this country yet.
Yeah,
it's you're going to spend more than 10 grand to put batteries on.
Yeah.
So I think at the moment, until the government changes the legislation, panels going to the grid is the best option.
Right.
But of course you could add some more panels to this roof. There's probably another 3 kilowatts you could probably get off this side of the roof. Yeah.
Fantastic. And we got this beautiful outlook to the hills here, Paekakariki.
Yeah, that's one of the features of those windows. I really wanted to emphasise the ability to capture those views.
Yeah.
And so the gable of glass that you see at the front and also at the back really allows you to capture those views.
Yeah. Well, Darren, I got to say, it's just an incredible property. There's been a lot of excitement locally,
Thank you.
You've had all the you had the community out the other day for the blessing, and there was a couple of hundred people turned up. Is that right?
Yeah. Over the last year, we've had lots of locals showing interest. So we thought, why don't we just open it up for a day? Then people can come and ask as many questions as they like. And we had a brilliant turnout. We had it blessed by the local iwi, and there was probably a good 200 people that came in over the afternoon.
Yeah, it's fascinating because when you get something different like this, sometimes it can polarize people, right, in a community, but the community's really embraced this, they've taken it on.
For sure, yeah. We were mindful that this sort of house may be a love-hate relationship, but we just got nothing but love on the day. People just loved it. Yeah. Even some of the older generation, which I thought would really butt heads with this new construction and a different way of living, but they actually embraced the idea that there's multiple uses for some of those rooms.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, hey, look, I'm going to give you a little plug now, all right? Because why not? So, so Darren Hunter, award-winning firm Hunter Architecture. If you're interested in doing something like this, Darren's available to chat.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, and hey, we're actually marketing this one for sale. If you just want to fast-track the process, but that's another story, and we can put some details at the bottom of the show notes for that. Cheers, Darren.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Mike. Cheers.
Thanks.